Ladies and gentlemen, Gene DiNapoli.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reminiscing with Gene DiNapoli. Tonight is Monday, November 30th. It is the start of the holiday season. Want to welcome everybody, and right off the bat, we want to let you know that our producer, Mike Dorita, has moved on with his career. So he is taking a back seat from our podcast, and we wish Mike all the wonderful luck in the world. He started us, and any success that we've had, we owe to Mike. We want to wish him the best, him and his lovely wife. We have a new guy on board. His name is Anthony. Anthony's going to be behind the scenes. We're going to bring him on later to introduce everybody. Want to welcome everybody. Tonight we have a wonderful show, but right now, let's get a couple of things out of the way. Today's show is dedicated to a man who was known as the never aging teenager. I'm talking about a man who celebrates his birthday today. We're talking about the wonderful Dick Clark. Dick Clark I met on a few occasions, so we want to send best wishes out to him in heaven and dedicate the show to him. There's me and Dick. I think that's 1986. There was a nightclub in Manhattan called Shout, and we did his birthday party. When I say we're talking when I was traveling with Joey D and the Starlighters, and we dedicate that to Dick, a wonderful man. So much responsible for so many great careers. We want to say hello to our sponsors. So, Anthony, as you put them up, I'll mention them. First of all, Karen and Howard from sundredgedcruises.com. Want to wish Karen a happy belated birthday. We celebrated 17 days last week. We had 14 birthday cakes. And she never ages. So for all your travel needs, honeymoon destinations, cruises, and flights, sundredgedcruises.com. Next up is, for those of you that are into CBD oils, sweethealcbd.com. Sweetheal.com. Mention my podcast. Get 20% off all your orders and a free gift. Next up, Anthony, our friend Francisco, also known as the Creative CPA, for your estate planning, taxes, and any questions you have. Get in touch with Fran at tranfrancisco.com. Mention the podcast and get an hour of free advice consultation. Pure Organic Cleaners, Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. Our friend Wally, also known as Mr. Positive, mention the podcast. Bring in 4 items, pay the top 3, get 1 free. And right now, for our gift baskets, for those of you that can't visit family, my cousin Perry has one of the best gift baskets companies in the North American continent. Anthony's Gift Baskets. You could call them at 914-944-1524 and ask them about all their different gift bag packages. And everything will be up on the page, Reminiscing with Gene DiNapoli, under the tab Offers. So you check that out, and we're going to have all the basket pictures up there. Something I want to mention right now before we get into the show, I got involved with a toy drive, one based out of Elmsford, New York, where I'll be performing this Saturday at Pete's Saloon in Elmsford. It's a toy drive from 6:30 to 9:30. So come on up, enjoy my show, have a bite to eat, bring an unwrapped brand new gift toy for the children of Elmsford and Westchester County hospitals. And then I got hooked up with a young lady out of Whitestone and Douglasson named Donna. And Donna had told me that she does a toy drive and that this year is going to be extremely hard. So I offered my services to her, and unfortunately we cannot get an event together. But what we are doing for Donna and for Safe Haven and St. Mary's Children's Hospital is we're putting boxes all over Queens, Brooklyn, and the Arthur Avenue Market. So from now until December 21st, stop at any one of the locations that will be listed on the page, Reminiscing with Gene DiNapoli, or the Arthur Avenue Market, thanks to Paul of Arthur Avenue Cigars. We're going to have a box there and drop off a new unwrapped toy for the boys and girls of Safe Haven and also St. Mary's Children's Hospital. So thank you, Anthony, for that. So, okay. So last month, we celebrated Italian American Heritage Month. And I had this next gentleman scheduled, and then another friend of mine couldn't do it one night, and he took this man's place. If you'd like to watch us, we're also on YouTube. Type in Gene DiNapoli and subscribe and see this and all other great shows. We have a bunch of shows there. So I called up this gentleman who I know a few years, and I said, I'd like you to be on my show. And before, absolutely, Michael, Mike, this is from Mike Dorito, our original producer. Thanks for the kind words. Keep up the good work. Mike, it is so honored that you are here to us to support us. So everybody, yes, let's give Mike a big round of applause. And you do well as well, Mike, and we will do something in the future. And thank you for all you did for me here at the start. I really appreciate it. So I called up this guy and I said, listen, I do a show and I want you to be part of Italian Heritage Month. And he said, okay. And then the dates got screwed up and he said, well, if you really don't want me, I said, no, I really want you. I said, you're not only a friend, you're a very talented individual. And he's an unsung hero. He's known all over except where he should be known. And that's the powers to be. So, ladies and gentlemen, will you please bring in my friend of many years, the wonderful Italian tenor, Mr. Aaron Caruso. Let's bring in Aaron Caruso, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Aaron.
How are you?
I'm very well. Just happy to be here, be a part of your show. Thanks for inviting me.
My pleasure. So, listen, I don't drink as a rule, but as a habit. And I normally drink iced tea. But because you're on the show, everybody raise your glass of vino and tutta salud. Salud. Let's get this out of the way. So, Aaron, how are you? Aaron, you are in the wonderful, warm state of Michigan right now.
I'm the Sunshine State. You know what I mean, Gene? I'll tell you what, it's about 40 degrees out there and getting colder. I spent a few days down in Florida, and I tell you, once you're down in that sun and you come back to cold, like you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
When you're on the East Coast, it's just, it can affect you so much, your personality, your moods. When you get that sun, you want to sing, you want to get out. It's cold, you want to stay home and watch Netflix.
Well, you know what sucks about a singer like you and an entertainer like me, because I'm not a singer, I'm an entertainer. It also affects your vocal cords.
Right.
So people don't realize that when you do a show outside or in the cold, unless you warm up properly and you take a lot of care, it could backfire on you.
Absolutely. You got to warm up. You know what you're talking. Just like an athlete.
Yes.
Just
like an athlete.
They drink. We drink vino. You know what I'm saying?
We drink vino. Right. Absolutely. So listen, right off the bat, you were born in the Midwest.
Yes.
In Michigan. What town did you come from?
I grew up in a little town called Fraser, Michigan, and about 40 minutes outside of Detroit, a suburb. My parents grew up in Detroit, then the city proper, and then they moved out. Everybody left and went on to the suburbs, and when they made a few dollars,
Right.
And, my father was a teamster. My grandfathers on both sides marched with Hoffa to form the unions and whatnot. And my father, worked on a dock, unloading trucks, loading trucks. My mother worked in a hospital. And I was always a big kid, My dad would say, come on, what are you, bum? You afraid to work? Go to work. Put those shoulders to work. And I'd say, come on, Dad, I want to be a singer, And my mother always encouraged it, though, Gene. You know how moms are. They always push. It's okay, honey. Do what you want. And I ended up going to school for opera, for voice.
Right. So nobody in your family was musically inclined?
No, I had an aunt that my Aunt Mary was the only one that sang amateur singing, just around the house. But she had all the great records of all the people that I would go on to meet. I didn't believe, Jerry Vale and Sergio Franchi, although I never met Sergio, but I sang at the event that they have in Connecticut, etc. All the great tenors that I first heard were all on her little record player. I say little, but the thing took up half the wall. You know what I'm
Right.
talking about?
Yes.
The highs,
Yep.
and that's where I first heard all that great music.
Yeah. I actually worked with Sergio Franchi in Atlantic City when I was a kid.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a thrill that must have been, huh?
It was because, my dad listened, of course, Roselli was God in my house.
Of course, the best.
The best. But Sergio Franchi and Martina Jerry Vale, Victor Mon, Mario Marola, Carlo Butti, those were the modern day Italian singers. But of course, we grew up, my father made sure I knew who Caruso was and Lanza because my grandfather used to sing at weddings back in the 30s and 40s for $5. Yeah, and one day he went to go see Caruso at the Met, and I actually have a scarf, a white silk scarf that my grandfather had touched. Caruso touched it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if we could take calls. We can't take calls, but Anthony, could you put that little, did you see the one down at the bottom, Anthony, the quote at the bottom? Yeah. Look who that's from, Aaron. That's from our good friend Lou.
Look at him.
Yeah.
What an actor. First of all, what a guy.
Yes. We're gonna get to him. Lou, we got some stories, so hopefully you stick with us. So now you decided at what age to become a singer? Look at that.
I was about, that's from a while. I was about 13 years old when I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. I used to play football with my friends at the local park, and I had a necklace on that got ripped off with medals from the old country, my grandfather's medals, and I lost them. And I was so afraid to tell my parents that I lost these medals. So I waited a couple days. I finally told my mom. I said, "Ma, I lost the necklace." She said, "What?" She said, "Get back there right now. I'm going to say a prayer to Saint Anthony that you're going to find these medals, And I said, "Ma, you don't understand. They go with those metal detectors. It's gone. It's raining out." She said, "Get back there right now." So I went back. My dad took me. We got out of the car. I took about 10 steps. I stopped. I looked between my feet. There were the medals. My hand to God, Gene.
Unbelievable.
So I told my mom, I said, "Ma, I found the medal." She said, "I knew you would because I said the prayer to St. Anthony."
Yes.
"What did you say, Mom?" She said, "Well, I said if you found them, you would sing in church one day." And at the time, I was a piano player. I wasn't a singer, I said, "Ma, you can't make a promise to a saint." She said, "Well, you better start singing." And I did. And I ended up singing for St. Anthony, and I've had a close relationship with him ever since. So
Saint Anton. Yes.
Yeah.
Saint Anton. So, wow. Such nice words coming to you already, Aaron, by, I guess, people that you know.
I shared it on
Angel Blood and Susanna Wollerson. It's all wonderful to see that you're following, joining us. So now you sang 13, 14. When was your first professional gig, as we call it?
Well, that's a good question. I thinking back, it was probably one of the church gigs, Gene. One of the times I joined the church choir. When I got my license, I could drive. And then they hired me to sing an Easter Mass. And then little by little, I got in touch with what we had down in Detroit. We had a coro italiano, where they sang all the old Italian songs that you would hear Carlo Butti and those guys sing. Right. And I was the youngest kid. I was 16, and they were all 65, 70 years old. Everyone's from Italy. And here's me there thinking, wow, I died and went to heaven because I sing the songs that I grew up on. I couldn't wait to, try out these songs. And then, of course, they would, at the end of the rehearsal, they'd have homemade wine and pizza and who brought this, who brought that. So little by little, I started getting into our Italian community in Detroit. And that's really how it happened. But the first gig, I would have to say, would be church.
Wonderful.
What about you?
My first gig, the first day I walked on stage I was 14, and I made $400 because my uncle owned the restaurant and everybody was throwing money at me. So I'll never forget, the next day I came down like an opera singer. I came down in my bathrobe with a towel around my neck, and my mother said to me, can you take the laundry downstairs? And I looked at my mother, I said, after my breakfast, madame, and she backhanded me. She knocked the kerchief went off she knocked the ego out of me right away. Right away. So this March, I'll be celebrating my 41st anniversary in show business.
God bless you, Gene.
Thank you. And how long you, Aaron?
I'm sorry?
How long you been doing this?
Well, so if I started at 16, I'm 44 now.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't start off, doing it full time. I went to college for opera, and I took piano lessons for many years. I went to Italy, lived in Italy for a while, studied there, and also in New York City with a maestro that when he came back from Italy. And, I'm still taking lessons, believe it or not. Well, I don't say lessons, Gene. At this point, they're coachings. You kind of I got a guy from the Met, a dear friend of mine, Mark Oswald from the Metropolitan Opera, and we do these kind of lessons, Skype lessons, coachings. What about this? What about that? Sing that a little more open. Sing that. Show us some teeth there. The tricks.
Right. My cousin married her husband, whose mother was Risa Stevens.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Famous singer.
Yes, actually. And Kathy Westmoreland, who worked for Elvis Presley, was at the Met as well.
Yeah, I think it was her father was there as well. That's something I was hearing.
Yeah.
What a voice. Do you know her?
She actually came to my house on my birthday one day to sing happy birthday for me. She was in the Bronx visiting another Elvis, a friend of mine named Tally, and he showed up at my door unannounced with her. Maybe I didn't know that he was coming. And I opened the door and she sang happy birthday to me.
Unbelievable. Right. What a story.
Yeah. So now you were doing this, you're singing, and so you're basically in the Detroit metro area, right?
Yes.
What was your first gig out of the area?
I started, so I was finishing college at the University of Michigan for vocal performance. I met a friend of mine who I'm now in a group called the Sicilian Tenors with. My friend Sam Vitale.
Yeah.
Another great Mario Lanza fan. And that's kind of how there's the guys there. He would be the guy on the right. And we booked a job singing in Ohio at the Sons of Italy state event. They had a statewide convention. So we got booked down there. We drove down there and met some great friends that we ended up being friends with for over 20 years. They had a little Italian festival just outside in a place called Wellsville, Ohio. And there was another one in Warren, Ohio.
Sure.
And they said, would you guys come over and sing at the Italian festival? We said, sure. Went over there, sang, and they ended up hiring us every year for the next 20 years. So I think outside of Michigan, that was probably our first one. Or it might have been we did another time we went down to Florida and sang for a very wealthy man down there. Private party. And then we went on a cruise. We did Costa Cruise Lines. The Costa Victoria.
Yes.
We were stand-ins for a tenor friend of ours who got sick. And we put a show together called The Two Tenors at that time. And we went all around the Caribbean. It was great. What a time. We didn't even have charts, Gene.
Really?
We showed up with lead sheets for these guys. And you know what I'm talking about. You can tell your audience.
Lead sheets are good for rock and roll and rhythm and blues, not for Italian and opera. That's thank God you had professional musicians.
Guess what? And you know those guys on those cruise ships from Poland, who's from Russia, who's from wherever. These guys, they knew the tunes. First of all, they knew them before we gave them the lead sheet.
Right.
But it turned out to be just a great experience. But from there on, then we kind of took off. And I found a voice teacher out in New York my senior year in college who was this maestro from Italy. And he started working with another colleague of mine who's now at the Metropolitan Opera. And I heard the difference in his voice. So I said to the kid, I said to my friend, I said, Ross, what are you doing? Where did you get this voice? He said, I'm working with this maestro in New York City. He's from Rome, but he's no joke. He's no joke. So, I said, well, I want to meet him. I want to hear him. I want to get to know this guy. So we took a ride out there to New York from Michigan, It was like going from Mayberry to Las Vegas,
Absolutely, yeah.
And we took a train from Detroit, 18
Really?
on a train. We get out there. There's the maestro, waiting for us. He's at his apartment in Manhattan. We walk up there. He says, so you are a tenor? I said, yes, maestro, I am. He said, but can you do this? And he went to the piano and he went, I said, no, I can't hit a high C, maestro. You are not a tenor, but you will be a tenor if you study with me. True story. And then he stopped speaking English to us. He would only speak Italian. So we would be fluent. And he didn't care. He said, I don't care if you speak Sicilian, if you speak Napolitan, any kind of dialect. I understand it all. I just want to get you used to speaking in Italian, because if you're going to sing any kind of opera, you have to know Italian, period.
Right. Yeah, my father was a very big stickler. He wanted me to sing Italian, but he told me you can't sing Italian properly unless you know what you're speaking about. So Unfortunately, my attention span was always too small. I never learned the Italian language the way I should have. But that's why we have people like you to do it the right way.
You know what it is, Gene? It's one of those things where you're so proud of it. It's such a beautiful language. And I ended up taking it on as a minor in college because I already kind of spoke Sicilian. And so I ended up getting a minor in it. And I'm glad I did, because it's a beautiful language and it's led to other languages. But, if you're going to sing, you got to do it. So much, you sing in Italian. I'm sure, it's so much easier because it's all about the vowels.
Yes.
You know what I mean, Gene?
Right.
So, that's kind of how I got started. Then I moved out to New York to study with the maestro.
Right.
And
how long did that last?
I studied with him for about 10 years. I first moved to Newark, New Jersey. And that was an interesting place, And back then, Gene, there were still a few Italians hanging on in Newark.
Very few.
I don't know that they still are, but I know they were. And I'm going back to 98, 99, 2000. And you have those coffee shops, and you know what I'm talking about, Gene. You walk in the coffee shop, and it's just so beautiful, nice mom and pop place with espresso and little things, Then you go in the back door, and they got horse racing. They got guys playing cards. They got the machines. They got. I said, where the hell am I? What's going on here?
No, nothing like that in Michigan.
No, nothing like.
Nothing.
The closest we had was a place they used to, the Paisans used to play cards. They used to get illegal card games going.
Porta.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
You talk about Newark, and I'm not this has nothing to do with race or anything, but I used to do a lawyer's house in Newark. He was the last white person in that area. Oh, wow. And the contract was he had a hot dog party every year, and I had to sing in the ghetto by Elvis 5 times an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Because they were in the ghetto, and he was the only. That was for years. We did that.
Oh my gosh.
We did that for years.
What?
So let me get your name's Caruso.
Yes.
Okay. I got to ask, any relation, even minutely, distantly, any relation?
My grandfather said that there was a relation, Gene, but Caruso is the number 10 most common Italian surname in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
There are over 110,000 Carusos in Italy, from top to bottom, Sicily and Italy. And of course, we know Enrico Caruso was from Naples.
Yes.
My grandparents were from Palermo, outside of Palermo. Aldo Mancusi, Cavaliere Aldo Mancusi, the curator of the Enrico Caruso Museum in New York, told me, he said, "Aaron, there's no way you are related to Enrico Caruso." I said,
we don't believe him.
We don't believe him. My grandfather swore that they were, but again, in our little town in Sicily,
there
were 6 families of Caruso.
Okay.
So that they had to have nicknames.
Right.
Because there was so were they distant cousins? I don't know.
We're going to say yes. We're going to say yes.
All right. Good.
Funny story about Caruso. My father was a gambler in Atlantic City. And when I used to get in the limousine to come home, it depended on what movie he was playing in the VHS. I knew if he won or lost. So if he won, he would play the Al Jolson story. And if he lost a lot of money, he played the Great Caruso with Larry Park, with
Lonz.
Lonz. So I used to get in the limo, and I used to look at the VHS, and depending on what I saw, I knew if it was a ride from hell, because my father didn't lose $10,000. My father used to lose $100,000 to $200,000. Yeah, so I knew how to play the ride home, depending on that. But so your name's Caruso, you're singing Caruso, and the first time me and you crossed paths was when you got the lead in it was a play that should have went to Broadway.
Yeah.
It didn't, but it wound up touring. You got the lead in a play called Be My Love, which was the story of Mario Lanza.
Yes.
And we met because my wife's uncle was the maestro.
Lou.
Pettigrew was the maestro on that show. And me and you met at a Hostess out in Long Island.
I believe
was that one of the colleges you played?
It was. It'll come to me as we're talking.
Yeah.
Post.
CW Post. Yeah. So and then of course our good friend, mutual friend Lou Martini was in the play. But tell us about that play. You got the part, and it was produced by one guy who's known by a lot of people, and another guy who's known by very few. Sonny Grasso from the French Connection, and Phil Ramone, whom everybody knows. So how did this project come about?
Well, they wanted to do it for a while, and I actually got the role through another mutual friend, Danny Aiello.
Danny was a great guy.
Another great human being. I ended up meeting him at his restaurant in Hoboken.
Right.
Tutta Pasta. And I walked in, and he says, "You know who you look like? Mario Lanza."
Unbelievable.
And it took off from there. And then I met Sonny, and
that's me and him. Not yet, Anthony. There's me and you.
Nice.
Yeah,
but,
not yet, man.
Guess what?
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it, but he got on the phone with him. Danny Aiello got on the phone with Sonny right there.
Right.
And they said, Sonny said, "I'm looking for somebody to do Mario Lanza. We're doing a nationwide search." Right away, Danny goes, "He's right here. He's
right here."
So he sent me over there, and I met Sonny. got to started working with Sonny and Phil Ramone. Now, Phil Ramone, here's a guy, 15 Grammys with Sinatra. Came up, Billy Joel, Uptown Girl. He did Tony Bennett, all his albums. He came up with the idea of duets with Sinatra. He, this guy's this living legend, and worked with Pavarotti, personal friends with Pavarotti. And I got to sit in front of this guy. So I'm shaking in my boots, But a nicer man you couldn't meet, Gene. A nicer man you never want to meet. He said, Aaron, my mother told me when I got my first Grammy with Frank Sinatra, she said, son, now you made it.
Now you made it.
Yeah.
Now you made it. We're going to do this later, but we're going to play a little clip of you. And this is very Lanza-esque. Anthony, play that the clip Ave Maria. We have a friend of ours, Melanie. Love to hear you sing. So we're going to play about 40 seconds of this.
Okay.
Anthony, Ave Maria. We can't play too long of a clip, but all your clips are available on YouTube and on your website. So we'd like people we're doing this so people can get to know you, to hopefully find out more about you and become more infamous that you already are.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And then we got a clip. I didn't even know you did this song. One of my favorites. I open up some of my shows when I do regular music with this. Anthony, play that first clip that we went over today. This is one of my favorite songs.
Till the moon deserts the sky, till all the seas run dry, till then I'll worship you, only you. Not bad. The Italians over here. Let's go.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, I noticed the first two songs you did was very reminiscent of Al Martino. So you worked with Al.
I had the great honor to work with Al Martino, the last concert he ever sang on this earth in Staten Island, on Staten Island. And what a sweetheart, what a giant of a man, what a giant of a talent. The song, incidentally, I don't know if you remember the Teardrops, Gene.
I knew Tony very well. He was a mentor. And Paulie I knew until his passing of in Atlantic City.
So I knew Paulie very well. In fact, I wrote Paulie a song. I'm going to send it to you when we're done.
Okay.
When he was to celebrate his 50 years in show business. And I first heard the song through Paulie, through the Teardrops.
Right.
But what a great, great love song.
Which is amazing because I knew them in the late 70s, early 80s. Look at that. There's you and Al.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Wow. And then you must have known Paulie after Tony passed away.
Correct.
Because there's a difference in age between me and you.
Yeah. And Paulie, I knew Paulie when he was at Caesars because I worked at Caesars as well.
Right.
And he didn't know it, but somehow in Michigan, I found his CD, CD of the Teardrops.
Unbelievable.
And I learned all of his songs. He used to sing, Mai più vicino al mondo, t'amerà così. I mean, every one he did. Till he did La Luna Menzumare. He did,
He did everything.
He did them all.
He did. He used to do a like an upbeat version of Mala Femina. Remember that?
Yes. And he had that voice, you know, he'd go, Femina. He had that real high, you know, it was a high tenor voice. But
he was something else.
You
he was something else.
You couldn't, and the stories he used to tell us, you know, he'd be like, yeah, I remember me and my brother Tony were at the Copacabana, and I was with Tony Bennett. And then the time Frank Sinatra came in.
Absolutely.
And nobody was listening in the lounge. And Frank got up and said, hey, would you guys shut up? These guys are singing their hearts out. And he looked over and he said, sing, Dago, sing. And you know, I always believed Paulie. I always took him at his word. And then one day he shows up with his photo book at Caesars of him and Sinatra, him and Tony Bennett, you know, everybody.
All true.
I went to his funeral. I was there for the funeral too.
All true. You know, I still see Tony. Tony's marker is 3 stones away from my mother.
Oh my God!
And they put a picture. I remember back in 1990. He was the first person that ever had a picture on the gravestone.
Oh my gosh!
And he's got a cowboy hat on too, which was so nobody expected that from Tony. But now, I know you sing multitude of music. Is opera your first love?
Actually, oldies were my first love. You know, the doo-wop stuff. I used to listen to the Crests, of course, Elvis. You know, I mean, that kind of Jerry. I love Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah,
on the piano. I used to play all that stuff. I loved Dion. Dion was a great early influence.
You're gearing towards Italian people. Do you notice that?
You know, figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I did know, always thought was very interesting about Elvis, and I know you are a big Elvis man. You love Elvis. In Priscilla's book, she says, you know, the first thing we talked about, Elvis asked me who my favorite singer was. And she said, Mario Lanza. And Elvis said, really? He's mine too. And she said, for the first half hour of them meeting, that's who they talked about.
Right.
Mario Lanza. And when, what was it? Larry King did the show with Priscilla going through Graceland. At one of the anniversaries, they got to the record room.
Mm-hmm.
And who was the record on there? Was Lanza.
Lanza, yep, absolutely.
He couldn't believe it. He couldn't.
You know, we look at that picture of you, man. That's fabulous, that picture. That's fabulous. You know, me and you worked together at an Italian festival up in Southington, Connecticut.
Yes.
2 years, thanks to the great man, Joe Laporte. Could you put that picture up of me and Aaron, please, Anthony? So there's me and you.
My gosh.
And we spoke about Elvis that night.
Yes.
And, you asked me what my favorite Italian Elvis song was.
Yeah.
You were expecting me to say It's Now or Never. And I said, Surrender.
Right, bravo.
You were flabbergasted.
I was.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know that. That is the same song.
It's the same song, Torno Surrender. And that's where Elvis hit the high C.
Yes.
You know, everybody thinks it's Now or Never. But it was in Surrender.
Yes.
That Elvis hit that high C. And that's when he knew in 1960 he could really sing.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. I remember talking to Tony Orlando, another great
yes.
guy. As you know, I know you're very close with Fred. I got to know him very well when I was down in Branson performing. And he said, Aaron, I was at the International in the lounge when Elvis was in the big room.
Yeah.
And I used to sneak back there the way that our sets kind of dovetailed each other. So I would finish mine. Just as he was finishing, I was able to go down there. And he said, I can't describe the power of his voice in those years. It was every bit as operatic as you or anyone out there. And the recordings really never captured the true power of his voice.
No.
He said, Aaron, it was unbelievable. It was I'll never forget that voice.
You know, I never got to see Elvis, but I have a friend of mine that saw him like 30 times, which I hate him for. But he said when he would sing "Hurt,"
Oh yeah,
or it's not, that the rafters would shake, and when he sang "Love Letters," you could hear a pin drop. 20,000 people went silent. You know, I mean, that's a testament to the man's talent, which gets overshadowed by so much bullshit of his personal life and everything.
right.
But these pictures, these are all great pictures.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So tell us about your time with Joan Rivers. I mean, that had to be something that you never expected.
Guess what? No, that's one of those things you never kind of. We have a supper club here in Detroit called Andiamo's, and they bring in national talents. They brought in at that time. It was Regis. It was Joan Rivers. They had he's had Tom Jones. He's had you name it. You know, national acts. And so I got to open for a lot of these people, thanks to my dear friend out there, Joe Vicari, the owner of the place. So I opened for Joan, and we hit right away. She said, "Oh my God, you gotta come and be my opener." I said, "I'd love to." So she said, "Well, here's the information of my agent in L.A. Give him a call." And I couldn't get a hold of the guy. He wouldn't call me back. I couldn't. It just never could get a hold of the guy. So then she came back the next season. I opened up again for her. She said, "That's it. This time you're coming with you." Oh, you're coming with me. Oh, you know how she was.
Absolutely.
And I was able to get through to her agent, and ended up touring for a few years with her. She gave me a great compliment, Gene. She said, "Aaron, usually I work with comics or I work with singers." She said, "You're entertaining on stage. You're both, and I've never had that before." She said, "So I like anytime I can use you, I would like to use you." So I said, "Well, thank you, Joan. I'm not a comedian by any stretch of the imagination, but there's always a little bit of levity in the show, as you know. Right. You have to."
Yeah, but a lot of people don't realize that comedians don't want other comedians to open up, and singers don't want other singers. They try to mix it up because, let's face it, you don't ever want your opening act to be a stronger act than you.
Right.
Even if you're a star, you could have an off night and somebody might like you better, or vice versa. So you always want to mix it up.
She was at the point, I think, in her career where she was over all that stuff. I mean, if she wanted you to do it, but so she saw that I was doing well, she gave me more time. Most people, it's the other way, right, Gene? To say,
right, yeah.
"Oh, you were really good tonight. Take a few songs off tomorrow." She was
the opposite.
She would sit on the sides of the stage with her assistant until I hit the Vincero, till I hit the note. And only then she would go back in her room, and she was like holding her breath. Wait, she was the sweetest the sweetest, kindest woman I ever had the pleasure of meeting, and I pray for her.
That's something that's so unheard of with her, especially. So that's wonderful that you're telling all of our viewers and listeners that she was not the cold-hearted, vicious person that she was made out to be.
Not at all. A matter of fact, she was the exact opposite. And the only time, Gene, I saw her lose her cool was one time we were down in Clearwater at, I think it was Ruth Eckerd, Florida. And the guy just did not get the sound right.
Okay.
Now, she sends in her assistant first. He checks the sound. I mean, there's a series of people that have to check everything before she gets on the mic. Well, it was all messed up, and she just lost it. And she lost it for about 2 minutes, and then she was fine. And it was the only time she was as sweet as could be to me.
Well, you expect people that are in the business to be as professional as you are, especially when they have their job.
Exactly, and especially a place like that. You have thousands of seats. And who
Sure.
knows the poor guy, what was going on with him. But he got read the riot act, and he fixed it, and that was it.
And that was the end of it.
But she used to say, though, Gene, that when she did that fashion show thing on E.
Yeah.
She said whenever the girls would send somebody over to me, they would tell me I knew that if they sent them to me, they were rude to the girls on front, on the line. So she said that was my cue to tear them up.
Wow.
So that's why she would just let them have it, because they were mean to her girls. Once again, she was being mama bear,
right,
protecting the people around her. And she stood up for me on stage before. I mean, she didn't mess around. I mean, she
was a professional. We know that.
Yeah.
One of your fans just wrote something, and I want you to talk about this because this is news to me. And I'd like to know if you have a copy that you can maybe put up. All of our viewers, if you like Aaron Caruso, please go to his Facebook page and his website, aaroncaruso.com, and you spell it the same way Elvis spelled it.
Yeah.
Yes. There was a controversy. It was one A or two A's. But when Elvis was born in 1935, he didn't know that the Bible spelled it with two A's.
Right.
So his original name was Aron. But when he got older, it was double A. So that's how you spell it. And we want everybody to follow you. But you just got interviewed for a magazine called The Limelight.
Yes, I did.
And how was that?
Great experience. The lady Clarissa that runs it's a first-class magazine. And I actually met her through the Sons of Italy. I did an interview with the National Sons of Italy a couple months ago. And tell you what a great organization. All those organizations, they're standing up for Italians. I couldn't be more proud to be involved with those guys. And Clarissa is a former supermodel, the entrepreneur, and a journalist in Italy. She's also a citizen of Italy. Although she's not Italian, they adopted her. And now she has this magazine, very successful magazine she runs.
In Italy?
In the United States. It's
in the United States?
Yeah, so it's all over. But she's still very involved in Italy.
And is there a website that people could look at?
Yeah, I'll be putting it up, everything on my Facebook page.
Everything on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
So it was a good interview?
Oh, it was great. It was great. Just, she's a great person, sweetheart, beautiful woman. That never hurts either, Gene,
It's always nice when they're easy on the eyes as well as on the ears. Now, Aaron, don't take this the wrong way.
Sure.
But I love when I have Joey D and Vito Pacone and Billy Vera. And I love when I have guys that had hits, guys that are stars.
Right.
And please, this is no slur on you at all. So I want your fans to know, you are not a star.
Right.
You are the top of the just star. Right. Yet you got voted Entertainer of the Year for 10 years in a row in Reno, Nevada. So how is this possible that somebody who has no hit records, no movie deals, you're relatively young at this time, you're not an old timer where they just give out accolades. How did it feel and how did you win 10 times? I mean, this is boggling.
Well, in the as they say nowadays, there must have been a little bit of fake news in there, because my mentor, a man that I studied with, named Danny Morona, was the one that was voted Entertainer of the Year for 10 times in Reno. So that's part of my website and on my bio, and so that's probably what it was. So. And that's a great point. He used to say the same thing, Gene. He'd say, I never had a hit record. I'm not a TV star. But Danny came from that lineage of entertainers.
Yes.
Gaylord and Holiday. He used to go to Vegas and study these guys with a notebook. And down to what color suits they were wearing.
So you learned from a guy that learned the best.
Yeah, I studied with the 10-time Entertainer of the Year.
That's just as good as schooling.
Oh, I tell you what.
That's just as good as schooling.
As much as I learned in college, I learned with him. I spent a year of my life with him every single day. And you know what it's like. Having mentors in this business is invaluable. Having mentors in life is really invaluable. And
Absolutely.
from the bottom of my heart, Danny Morona, here's a guy that, like you said, never had that hit. He just was he was a comedian, he was a piano player, and he was a singer. He wasn't the best comedian, he wasn't the best piano player, he wasn't the best singer. But all three, he was the best.
He had the package.
He had the package. And, here's a guy, the first time we met, he said, you want to go far in this business? You want to make your mark? Yeah. You want to make a lot of money? Yeah. Okay. The first thing is, what's that? Be a nice person.
Wow.
I said, oh, wow. That's what I said. I said, wow. Okay. He said, because the people you meet on the way up, same ones you meet on the way down. But on the way down, you meet them twice as fast. Because usually you're falling on your way down.
Yes. Wow. So the website for the Limelight is www.osia.org, which we want to promote. And there's a wonderful, maybe Clarissa will speak with me. You never know. I got a little bit of a career after 40 years.
She should. You know what? I got to tell you something. It's an honor for me to be interviewed by what I call a legend, Mr. Gene DiNapoli, because really, I mean, I've known of you, in different circuits for many, many years, even before we met. So, people know that you have this thing. I'm honored to be a part of it, and I look forward to help to promote this video.
Well, thank you. All we need people to do is to share it, and then the thousands. And also, it's going to be on ItalianAmericanRadio.com. So you're going to be heard. You're going to be heard all over the world with this. This just isn't in the Bronx, New York, Aaron. We do have listeners all over the place. But I got to tell you, in the opening video, you did Till, you did Volare, and then you got on the piano, and you boogie woogie. Can you boogie woogie right now for me?
I don't know. Let's see.
Not bad. Pretty good.
I just don't know what it sounds like, so I don't want to go too long.
It sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. So, amongst all this chaos of this 2020, guys like me and you were still able to do a few little gigs here and there.
Yeah.
And one of your gigs is going to bring the Sicilian Tenors to New Jersey next week. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's our Christmas Amore show, which we have up there. We're going to be at the Mayo. It's called the Mayo Center. I'm going to put the information on my Facebook page.
Sure.
I'm going to share that as well. And it's on Sunday. We actually have two shows. And the good part is we'll be able to, for those of you that aren't in New Jersey, Morris Plains, you can watch it online. They're going to be broadcasting it as well. People can buy tickets. And it looks really nice. I spoke with the technical director today. He said it's really, really a first-class production. So we're excited.
So that's the 13th.
The week before. No, so this is coming up this weekend. So it'll be the 6th or the
6th.
Is that the Sunday?
Yeah, the 6th.
Yeah, right. The 6th coming up.
Okay, so number one, ladies and gentlemen, if you like one iota of what this man has done tonight, you need to log on to the Mayo Theater's website and find out how you could purchase, I'm sure, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You could purchase and find out you could purchase tickets to the streaming event of the year. This is the streaming event for Italians. For Italians.
We're excited. It's we're very proud of the tenors, the Sicilian Tenors. We started when I was doing a concert in Carnegie Hall back in 2009, I believe. I invited the guys to come on stage with me. I was doing a tribute at the time, a Mario Lanza tribute at Carnegie Hall. The guys got up, and the rest is history, as they say. We've been all over the country. We've sung in Italy. We've done stuff for William Shatner for his charity out in L.A.
Wow.
We've worked with Il Volo. We were co-head with them.
Really?
Absolutely. Great kids, great guys.
So wait a minute. So tell us, Sam Vitale is from where?
Originally, he's from Michigan, but he lives out in Maryland now, out in Frederick, Maryland.
Okay. And Elio Scaccia
Yes.
Scaccia is from where?
Baltimore. He lives out there in Baltimore. So great guys. We have a fun show. Joan heard us. Joan said, "Wow, you guys," she said, "this reminds me of the Three Tenors meets the Rat Pack." She said, "I really like it. It's fun. It's, they got some levity in the show. We do some hand clappers. It's not the typical night at the opera. It's not, it's not a long night of opera. We have jokes. We do Broadway stuff, some Dino, some
Right.
Napolitan."
So I don't mean to interrupt. So you're telling me that a guy from Michigan, well, outside of Detroit, a guy from Baltimore, which I know has a very big Italian population,
Yes.
team up with a guy from Fredericksburg, Virginia, to do a show called the Sicilian Tenors.
Yeah.
And none of yous come from Sicily. I can't. This is amazing.
Yeah, right. Well, it was my grandparents came from Sicily, Sammy's grandparents, and Elio's parents, his mother and father, came from Agrigento.
So the lineage is there.
The lineage is there. Sammy and I were kind of paisans because we're from the next town over, Provincia di Palermo. And then we got Elio, their family's from Agrigento, but good people. Baltimore, great Italians in Baltimore there, Gene. I'll tell you what. I got to be the Grand Marshal in the Columbus Day Parade a couple of years.
Right.
Do a lot of work out there. Great people. The whole East Coast. You guys got it. You guys,
We did an Elvis event every year in Baltimore for John Hopkins Children's.
Oh, wow.
And we called it a night of 100 Elvises. And it was all different Elvis type acts. Magicians, poets, tap dancers, and then there were guys like me that dressed up. And we've done it for many years, raised millions of dollars for them. And unfortunately, this year it's not going to happen. But we'd still like anybody to donate to John Hopkins Children's. Now, when are you coming in to New York for this show?
I'm not sure when I'm going to be coming in there next. I'm coming in.
You're coming in for Sunday.
Go to Baltimore and then drive over there with the guys.
This weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. But
when do you think you're coming in? Do you know?
I don't have anything planned in New York, but I wanted to mention to you, I had a chance. I spoke with Joe Gershow years ago.
My friend. My friend.
And I know it's your friend. And at the time, we were talking about doing a tenor show out in Vegas.
Yeah.
And his work with Sergio Franchi.
Sure.
Of course, Elvis. I mean, everybody knows the Elvis work, and with the daughter Nat King Cole, everything.
Yep.
And we were talking. He said that's exactly what Vegas needs, is a tenor show. He said, I remember my stuff I did with Sergio Franchi. He said, we got enough jugglers, we got enough magicians. We need to bring the class back, and that kind of a show. That's exactly what we need. And
you know what? I'm going to tell you what. I've met a few people by doing this podcast, and they're always interested in new ideas. If you want to bring this to Vegas, we could four-wall it ourselves.
Yeah.
We roll the dice, and we either make it or break it, and we bring class and Italian back to Vegas.
Yeah.
And maybe Elvis could have a little part in the show.
Now you're talking. How can you not have Elvis in Vegas?
He was Italian by proxy.
Everybody thought I thought he was Italian growing up.
Well, my grandfather told me his name was Elvis Presleyano. But I got to tell you, Aaron, the time went so fast, so fast. You have made some of my following, your fans. They have gone and they followed your page. They're going to come see you in Jersey or see you online. So everybody, before we go any further, please, if you like Aaron Caruso, follow his page. Go to his website, aaroncaruso.com. And Aaron, I think in a couple of months we got to do part 2. What do you think?
Gene, I tell you, thanks a lot me to
You
your.
got it. Ladies and gentlemen, as we do every week, please give my guest, the fabulous Aaron Caruso, a big round of applause. Thank you. Salud, buddy. Bun and a dollar. Happy holidays.
God bless you.
Thank you. See you, pal.